the Darwin Núñez deal agreed. Is that going to go through? Because I gather the player hasn't said yes or no yet.
Well, he's been given permission to finalise the move. Now, there were reports earlier in the summer that he wanted to move on to be a first-team regular somewhere. We told yesterday they'd reached an agreement for a fixed fee of £46.2 million plus add-ons. That would take the fee to £56.6 million if he does go to Al-Hilal. Now, there's much been mentioned about Liverpool's signings and how much they've spent. But if that does go through, that's Núñez at the door for around 50 million, and Luis Diaz, let's not forget, has left for Bayern Munich as well. So there have been some outgoings as well as the incomings as well.
Indeed.
You could say Jarrell Quansah was there, 34 million.
Yeah.
Trent Alexander-Arnold, 10 million.
For a
Nat
month.
Phillips.
For a month
as well. Huge, amazing, astonishing business, really, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So therefore, Liverpool, whilst, yes, they have spent a lot of money, their net spend now, off the back of Núñez, should he go to the Saudi Pro League, would be almost minuscule by some standards. I don't mean to be belittling of huge sums of money, but when you look at what teams spend, they've actually been really clever and really creative, and that's what's amazing. Another player potentially could head out the door. Ben Doak, we'll talk about him later in the show. More PSR, 100% profit. Exceptional business.
But does all this mean Alexander Isak to Liverpool? Easy.
Nothing's ever easy when you're talking a Premier League record. They've been linked with the likes of Rodrigo, but then you look at the way that they've played over pre-season, and you look at the young 16-year-old, Rio Ungamoa, and look how good he's been.
Yeah.
Would they want to go and spend 90 million euros on a player that's going to stifle and stop his development? Absolutely not. Liverpool want young players from the academy to go into that first team. They want a clear pathway. So, again, that rules out signing someone who would be considered just a left-sided player. Also, Arne Slot's comfortable with playing 2-10s. He did it in February last year against Manchester City. Szoboszlai and Jones played as 2-10s. No 9 on the pitch. They won 2-0 away from home. So, therefore, when you've got people like Florian Wirtz and Dominic Szoboszlai and Hugo Ekitike, who can play on his own or play with someone else, you've got players there that can all fit into that fluid system.
OK, so sorry to interrupt, Mark, but where does all this leave Isak? Are we in a situation where Isak, unhappy at a club who've basically ostracised him of late, is he going to be stuck at Newcastle?
Now, ostracised based on his actions. So I would say, like, Alexander Isak hasn't been forced out of the fold because they don't want him. He's done things that have made the hierarchy at Newcastle say, well, if that's the way you're going to act, then we need to remind you that this football club is bigger than you and you need to fall in line and do what we want. Otherwise, you're not going to be a part of it.
So if he'd have handled it better over the last few weeks, you'd have thought that maybe Eddie Howe would have played him in the opening games. But because of how it's happened, he's got no choice but just to leave him out.
Absolutely. I think
this is apparently £150 million worth of footballer who's not going to be playing.
And whose fault's that? Do Newcastle want Alexander Isak in the training camp?
Newcastle don't win if he doesn't play, do they? I mean, I don't mean win games. I mean, they don't win this situation if a player of that quality isn't in their starting lineup.
But also, there's a lot of other talented players at Newcastle United. There's other players that can play as a number 9. They've got a lot of options. They've signed Anthony Elanga, sorry. So they've got that option, which they didn't have last season. Anthony Gordon's played as a false 9. Harvey Barnes there. So they've got options. Will Asula, maybe this could be his moment. What happens if Will Asula plays in that first game and he scores 2 goals? Alex who? Things change so quickly in football. I think if Alexander Isak had handled this situation differently, like other players have done, head down, train hard, ignore the noise, wait for the club to pay what your ownership club wants, then you'll get your move. He's gone about it in a different way. There's no right or wrong way here. He'll be advised by his representatives that say, actually, this is the way we need to deal with this situation. We need to engineer something a little bit here, and that means you've got to do what we say, and that means you don't turn up to training, or you go and do this, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a situation that can change. Eddie Howe's stance will be, I want you in my team, I want you with a group, I want you training, and I want you involved, full stop. And to do that, this is what you need to do. But there has to be an example made where players know at Newcastle, you cannot just agitate for a move and get your way. Yeah. You have to do it the right way.
So it's a message to the whole squad, not just Isak.
I think so.
All right, listen, 8 days until the football season starts. course, the deadline day is September 1st. Michael, first, do you think come September 2nd, Alexander Isak is wearing the black and white of Newcastle?
No.
You don't?
No.
Gone to Liverpool?
I think so, because I think it's got to that stage where I think Newcastle will bring someone in. Yeah.
What do you think, Mark?
My gut feeling is no. I think he'll still be at Newcastle United. I just think, and this has always been their stance, A, they don't want to sell. B, we'll only sell if we have a top-class Champions League-ready striker in the building, signed up and ready to go. That's when we may consider an offer, if it's what we accept. And right now, do they have a replacement? No. Is there one out there? Possibly. So therefore, is a deal going to happen? Looks unlikely. But this is a transfer window and anything's possible.
Anything, but Mark says he doesn't think Newcastle want to sell. Aston Villa don't want to sell John McGinn.